everybody, this is Vodka Soy Latte from the Wits End blog and from Vodka Soy Latte at Instagram. Come and find me and give me a wave. I'm going to show you DIYFish's Life Mapping version 2 inserts for 2014. I do use only the A5 size. This is my main binder. This is a Filofax A5 Malden. It is really the only one that I use. So if you're going to be printing the personal size or the pocket size, my cutting instructions won't really help you any. For printing, I chose to use 32-pound laser paper for a couple of reasons. One, because fish's inserts rely on folding and refolding, and the heavier paper tends to hold up better to that kind of wear. And because I like to use the Staedtler fine liner pens, and they are a felt tip pen, and with the heavier paper you're not going to have any bleed through. I kind of think a 28-pound would also work out pretty well for this. So if you give that a try and you find you don't have any bleeding and your folding is holding up pretty well, let me know and maybe I can downgrade a little bit. When you print, they will look like this coming out of your printer. Sorry, wiggling. This is the first page of the month, and your monthly grid the first week, and your first weekly chart. She does give you a cutting edge for instructions and a scoring line. I did not have any trouble cutting and assembling mine. If you have trouble with yours, check out her instructions for that. I think her cutting and assembly instructions are fine. Or leave me a note and I can try to answer your questions too. I do think that her printing instructions tend to make it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. My biggest suggestion is to know your printer and its capabilities before you even start. I opened up the files in Adobe Acrobat and I used an HP laser printer that is capable of printing double-sided. So I was able to set mine to print the whole thing in one shot. I did not have to print the odd pages and then go back and flip and do even. It was much simpler for me to do it the way that I thought was probably right with my printer than it was for me to try to follow her directions. So make sure you know what your printer can do before you really give it a start. Ooh. Okay, for printing, or for cutting, I used this cutting tool that I bought at Target quite a while ago. It has a cutting edge and a scoring tool. Perfectly fine. I didn't need anything else to cut with. This worked great, no problems at all. And for punching the holes, I just used the Filofax A5 punch. My hands did get pretty tired toward the end of it, and so I conned my husband into helping. But otherwise, it worked great. I think maybe it needs a little WD-40. Okay. This is, like I said, my main planner. It's the A5 size. I have a cover sheet and some bits and pieces to help keep me going. In addition to the life mapping inserts, I purchased the Fish's 3-year planner. It's a really nice tool for long-range planning, and I like it better than the Filofax version, mostly because I have more space here, more years, and the Filofax paper is so rotten. The way that I use this is pretty simple. If I know in advance that I have something going on a particular day during the year, I put a box around the year. So for example, right here, my kids' school's closed these days and these days. If I know it's a whole day, it gets a box. If it's a half day, it gets a hash line in the middle, and there's a dot in my son's colors. My older son is blue and my younger is green. So that I know who's off on any given day. So here, my older son has a half day here and the younger one has a half day the next day. They're at different schools. So this is pretty handy for long-term planning in the sense that you can see what days you have free and what days you don't if you can plan ahead that far. I really like it. I would recommend it quite highly. I still keep the traditional monthly view calendar in here as well because I have not quite gotten used to the format of Fish's monthly. She uses horizontal instead of vertical, or vertical instead of horizontal. I'm not sure. I'll show you what I mean. But I do keep this on here so that I can kind of still see my months laid out in the traditional view. Pretty helpful. Okay, so this is the monthly task planner that comes with the life mapping inserts. It's handy for planning out things that you have to do during the month. And it's also for seeing if you have any scheduling conflicts. So here are my monthly tasks. If they have a specific day on which they're due, or like it's an appointment and I know I have to go on that day, it gets a box. If it's just a task that can be done at any point, I don't put a box, but I will put a dot when it's done. For instance, my husband's car needs inspected. He doesn't have an appointment yet, so there's no box. But once he has one, it'll have a box, and when it's done, it'll have a dot in it. My kid's school was closed on these days, and my younger son has time commitments after school on these days. So I can look through when I'm trying to make an appointment and see if I'm open on a given day or not. Or just try to make sure that I get things done. Okay, here's where it gets a little bit complicated. Here is Fish's month. Like I said, it's set up a little bit differently than your standard calendar in the sense that here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a vertical week instead of a horizontal week. But that also means that your days line up horizontally. So for example, on week 1, I needed to schedule a fridge delivery. And I needed to make sure that I did it on a day that I knew I could be home and that I wouldn't have to run to pick somebody up or anything else. So I was able to look across here and say, okay, I could do it any Thursday because nobody has any commitments on Thursdays. So it's actually a fairly handy way to look at what's going to happen during your week and when you're trying to schedule it. This is a weekly task chart. Also very handy, particularly for me because my family actually shares this planner with me a little bit. And they can come to the planner and they can see what needs to be done in a given week and if it's assigned to a particular person. So, for example, my son had to clean his sneakers and it was assigned to him. And it's in blue and it's got his initial next to it. And lo and behold, look, he did it because he knew it needed to be done by a certain day. My kids have to do what we call poo patrol every day, which is cleaning up after the dogs. So somebody is required to do that every day. There better be a dot in those boxes or we have to chat. So this is very nice to keep track of tasks and appointments and things that you need to do. I do use it mostly for my to-do list. Quite handy. The facing page is a notes page. You could use it for anything you wanted. When you open the page, this is the beauty of Fish's inserts. You get to see your day, your week, and your month all at once. So this was January 1st. Here you have a box over here that I'm using for journaling. Just write in things that might happen during the day or various things that I'm observing in my kids or that happened that were significant or just how I felt during the day. And what's kind of cool is that Fish has this little box up here. It says I feel. And you get to write in how you felt that day. She has a little face, and honestly, I can't remember what that meant. And there's also a weather box, and I'm obsessed with tracking the weather, so this is pretty cool. I get to write in my high and my low temperature for the day. Down here at the bottom, or in the middle, there's glasses, like the Studio L2 Hydrate stamps, for those of you that use those, where you get to track your water intake, or coffee, or vodka soy lattes maybe. And below that, there's a list of daily things that need to be done. There's also a time grid. This whole section here is from midnight to midnight. Anything that might need to happen at a particular time, you can record it there. The facing page is a notes page. So you can just keep a journal of the day. You could draw pictures, have your kids draw pictures, whatever you want to do. And down here in this bottom box, I use it for work. So for right now, we're actually in week 2. So I can pull my week 2 out and I can flip to today. I can see all of January. I can see my week 2 and I see today. These were the things that happened this morning. It's still very cold here where I live. Some of the schools were canceled. Some of them had delays. I have not actually been very good about marking off my drinks yet, but I'm getting there. I needed to email somebody today. At the end of the day today, what I will do is sit down and make observations about my day. I've been using this kind of as a journal. I've been making some sketches. I like to use this bottom box here for my work commitments. I keep my weeks clipped with this magnetic paper clip so that I can very easily flip back and forth between my weekly task chart and my daily stuff. So if I take that off and go back to yesterday, you can see yesterday I felt cold. Our high was 5 and our low was -9. And that 5's probably being generous. School was canceled. It was -2 when we took the dogs out this morning, or yesterday morning. And I get down through, and because yesterday the weather was so weird, I recorded some temperatures along the way. A friend had a TV show premiere last night. My work things are down here. So this is I love these inserts. They really have helped me kind of keep things together and figure out where everything has to happen, and I like that I can share them with my family. Another really cool little feature about Fish's inserts is her index feature. Said that twice, didn't I? If you color code, and I do, you can assign a color to every person in your family or yourself, or different categories like my husband, myself, my kids, the house or cars, pets, finance, and school. And they each have a color, and there are grids on the sides of the pages of all of Fish's inserts. So you can mark off that day if something significant happened in one of those categories. So on this day, one of my sons had to go to a doctor, so I marked that off. So at the end of the year, when you start to fan your pages and you go through, you can see very quickly if something significant happened at any time. I think it's a pretty neat way to index, and I'm really excited about using that. The other really nice part of Fish's inserts is that she gives you contents pages. So you can look here, you can write down a significant event. We adopted Chester, my son's guinea pig, on the 1st of January, and that was on page 6. And since there are little page blanks at the bottoms of the pages, I can go to page 6, and I can see right here that we brought Chester home. And this would be also really handy for major events. For example, if you're, like I got a new refrigerator. So for warranty purposes, I can go back and say, yes, I got my new refrigerator and it was delivered on this day. So I can go back then and find the receipt in my files based on the contents in my planner. So I'm really happy with this. I'm very excited to keep going. I did use it for November and December of 2013, and I'm so pleased with them so far. My husband also thinks they're very clever, and that means he's going to be more willing to help me, and that's most definitely worth the time it takes to put this together. So I hope this helps you see the potential in Fish's inserts. It's kind of overwhelming until you start playing with them, but I think it's totally worth it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will be very happy to get back to you. Thank you so much. Happy New Year.